So if you feel like you're stuck and not hitting your goals, the issue might not be with your skills, but it could be in your mindset. In this video, I'll show you 3 powerful ways to optimize your mindset for success. And this is based on psychology and real world experience. And that is setting clear goals, managing your inner dialogue, and surrounding yourself with the right people. Let's get into it. Episode 3, Aternum Fortis. Welcome back. If you missed the last 2, I'll pin them here and here. Episode 1 was just introducing myself, introducing the brand Aternum Fortis. And then episode 2 was talking about optimal times to cut and to bulk. Episode 3, optimal mindsets for success. So I think in this industry of fitness, people don't dwell too much on the mindsets in terms of coaching. When you think about it, it's such a crucial part, because whether you wake up in a good mood, you're motivated, you're focused, you're driven, versus those days where you cannot be asked, you're tired, you're depleted. There's 2 very different people and 2 very different outcomes. This is why I really try to optimize the mindsets of the people that I work with as much as possible. I think there's a few ways you can do this, right? I think if we think about it in 3 strands, you've got 1, you've got goal setting and goal attainment. And then 2, you've got self-talk. That's more of your raw mindset type stuff, and optimizing your belief system. And I think the 3rd and final one is very crucial as well. It's your environment. Are you around positive influences? Are you around people that are doing the things that you want to achieve? Because we all know that group of people that achieves well, and then we also know the people that don't, and they drag each other down. I think you know which side is important to be on. But anyway, before we get into that, who am I and why should you listen to me? So I'm Nathan Field. I grew up in a very competitive and high pressure environment as a child, which created a lasting effect of anxiety, doubt, low self-esteem, all the way into my early 20s. And this is despite achieving things which I'm proud of, but the bar just kept moving up and changing. The resulting effects of having this type of fragmented mindset, fragmented belief system, was that I would often be angry, often be unfulfilled, depressed, anxious, and just completely unsatisfied. The turning point for me was when I took responsibility for my own mindset, started reflecting, started actively reading, started studying psychology deeply, started working with trained professionals, developing my understanding of CBT and those tools, which can enrich mindsets and develop mindsets in a positive way. I started networking and learning from a lot of people in that field and trying to absorb as much information as I can on these types of topics and push through that ceiling, which is otherwise been restrictive. I managed to do this around my mid-20s after a solid 3, 4, 5 years of hard work, hard graft, learning, developing, implementing, trial and error. I got to a stage of habits and routines and to a place of inner strength where my mindset finally became my greatest asset rather than my biggest burden. And it was unlocking that stage of mindset which allowed me to go to the next level in my own fitness development, start my business, which I've been contemplating for a long time, and ultimately find my passion and purpose, which has afforded me a much better quality of life. I've always succeeded in my life at school, straight A's, getting accepted into a top UK university, and then going on to become a banker in a globally recognized firm. While I had the money, I was living someone else's life, and within a mindset and a framework that was created to serve others and not myself. By taking this responsibility onto myself, I was able to go to the next level of my own mindset, my happiness, my enjoyment of life. And it's this exact success which I want to show and share to you and other men, to allow them to live a more authentic, genuine, purpose-driven, happy and confident life. My final introductory point on this is I've just created a document called the Fortis Mindset Introduction Tools to CBT, which perfectly complements this video. It's a free resource. All you have to do is ask for it in the comments below or reach out directly to myself and I'll send it across absolutely free. It's a very comprehensive introduction to the common mindset problems that men are facing and overlooking because of traditional masculinity, and how through these foundational tools of CBT, you can elevate your own lifestyle, your own mindset, and enjoy your life simplistically. And let me know if you want that, and I'll send it over absolutely free. Getting into it, goal setting and goal attainment for success. Now, all successful people are crystal clear on what they want to achieve. That goes without saying. You can't aim for something and strive for something if you don't even know what you're aiming for. One simple but effective tool I implement with the boys that I work with are SMART targets. Now, if you've heard of them, they're very simplistic. But if you haven't, SMART is an acronym. and it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And essentially, it's just a structure to break up specific goals into clear parameters of realistic attainment. Rather than saying, I want to get fit, which is so ambiguous, how are you ever going to really measure it? You're going to say, I want to drop 4 kilos of body fat in 4 weeks, or I want to gain 2 kilograms of lean muscle in 8 weeks. Specific, so you can measure against it. In 4 weeks' time, have you succeeded or failed against this parameter? It's just easier to measure. Which leads on to the other point of tracking progress. This is a very essential part of all goal attainment, goal achievement. Having that continual feedback loop, whether that be of success and keeping that motivation going, or whether that be points to improve. Having that continual feedback loop keeps the goal fresh in your mind, which is why a lot of New Year's resolutions fall by the wayside within 4 weeks, because no one's checking in on them. There's no accountability of self or from others. People saying, I just want to quit smoking. No one's on the case. They're smoking by February. But also, there's a psychological impact of writing down your goals. You're 42% more likely to achieve your goals just by writing them down. Again, this leads on to my final point of this section, which is visualization and taking action on that. Being able to see visually what you actually want to achieve, feeling the emotions around that, catapults your motivation and discipline towards achieving those things. This is why you'll get certain new age gurus talking about the third eye and meditation and visualization. And that's not my field personally, but it definitely has a place. Because if you can see crystal clear the goal that you're aiming for, you're going to be driven towards it. And there's very little that's going to take you off that path, if that's what you're striving for. Once you've set up the right goals, the next thing that will either push you forward or hold you back is that voice in your mind. The number 2 is self-talk and optimizing your mindset. So simplistically, your mind believes whatever you tell it. And the more you feed your mind, the more it grows. Whether you feed it the negatives grow. Whether you feed it the positives grow. When you do something and you tell yourself, I'm stupid, I couldn't do that, you're just feeding that negative thought and strengthening that pathway in your mind. The reverse is also true. I think there's a lot of skepticism around affirmations because there's more time they're just meaningless. But when you're able to feel continually the positive reinforcement of thoughts and actions and emotions behind that, that strengthens the pathway in your brain. It's not just as simplistic as telling yourself that you love yourself 10,000 times a day in the mirror. It's more about believing it. And the way you can believe it is by action in it, which is why there's a lot of strength in challenging yourself and then reframing failure as a learning curve. So when you get stuck in those negative feedback loops, rather than saying, I'm stupid, I can't do it, instead reframe that to, I'm still trying, but I'm learning every day. So it's just intentionally being positive with your self-talk to ultimately build up that momentum. Crucially, practice mindfulness to spot and stop the negative thought patterns. Also become very intentional with your positive self-talk, reframing negatives to continue positive momentum and also celebrating wins. And then finally, take positive action and challenge yourself. And like I say, when you win, you reinforce the positive. And when you fail, you're ultimately taking the lesson, keeping everything very intentionally positive. But even with crystal clear goals and strong self-talk, there's one more influence on people's mindset, which is often overlooked, and that's your environment. I know you've heard it a million times before because every new age guru and every social media page has stated this, but you are the average of the 5 people you spend your most time around. If you spend your time with 5 drinkers, you'll be the 6th. If you spend your time around 5 people that gossip, hate, and are negative, you'll likely be the 6th. You spend your time with 5 entrepreneurs, you'll be the 6th. Spend your time with 5 millionaires, and it's a matter of time before you're the 6th. That's the theory, but it is true. And the simplistic reason for that is those are the conversations, attitudes, behaviors, and values which you're internalizing and discussing on a day-to-day basis. Feeds in with some of the other points around self-talk, and your brain becomes what you feed it. So if you're surrounded by negativity, you're going to become negative. If you're surrounded by positivity, you're going to become positive because that's what you're feeding your mind. And while in self-talk, that's something that you can ultimately action and choose. Your environment, you can't change how people interact with you. Therefore, it's just about distancing from the bad and toxic people and bringing influential characters into your life, the ones that support your goals, boost your confidence, have similar interests, praise you, uplift you. All these positive aspects will go such a long way towards your own goals. And I think just to bring this to life, When I was 18, studying my A-levels, I had a teacher who was teaching me business. He used to study at Oxford. He taught at Cambridge. He had a long career in banking, and he's a very interesting guy. I got to know him quite well because I'd ask him lots of questions about careers and universities and the course. And ultimately, just by being around him and learning from him, it broadened my mindset to what I can actually achieve. And I started to understand different career paths and different ladders and different steps towards elevating my own intellect and opportunities. And without those types of conversations and influences, you don't get that insight. And again, practically speaking, if you only interact with people at or below your level of thinking, you're not going to grow. You're not going to be influenced. You're not going to be inspired to new challenges, which are ultimately going to expand your mind and let you grow. So success doesn't happen in isolation. It's built from the mindset you reinforce every day and by the people that help you stay aligned. And the best thing about today's day and age is that you don't have to put up with toxic people around you. You get to choose who you hang out with because there's so many online communities which will ultimately align with your interests and your mindset. We at Aternum Fortis, we've got a community of men who are aspiring to be 1% better every day. And that's in fitness, mindset, and nutrition. And because everyone in that group is aspiring to the same goals with the same intensity and discipline and drive, every one of them is inspired to achieve and achieves week on week. But this isn't just a call to action for Aternum Fortis. If you're into knitting, if you're into hockey, if you're into whatever it may be, there's a community out there which will align exactly to those interests. And I encourage you to find exactly what that is for you and what that means for you. But that's enough of me talking. Ultimately, now the action is with you. Hopefully that's a little bit inspiring, a little bit motivational to kickstart some action for your own life. And obviously, if there's anything that we at Aternum Fortis can support you with, you can inquire for one-to-one coaching in the link in my bio on my website as well. And alternatively, if there's any questions that you've got, please reach out to me directly. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions and see how we can support you. Now it's your turn. Go and get it.